Rebecca speaking.
Hi, Beck. This is Josh.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
My parents are really good friends with Carly Roebuck.
Yes, I did get a message from her saying something along those lines. She said you're doing a project on a daily penguin.
Yeah,
right?
but we just need to it's our assignment and it's due tomorrow, and we need to have a formal interview. And
Okay.
so we
I'll do my best.
First off, can you just tell just a bit about yourself? Just
So yeah, I'm an education officer at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for about 15 years.
Oh wow.
So hopefully I know something about penguins.
Yeah. So I just have a few questions about what it takes for a penguin breeding program.
Do you mean like in the wild? Or
No. Just in a habitat type thing.
Like in a zoo kind of situation?
Yeah, like SeaWorld type thing.
In SeaWorld. Right. So basically, the most important thing if you want to breed any kind of animal, but penguins, is that the animals are basically happy and comfortable.
Yeah.
Because nothing is going to breed if it's stressed or if it's not doing well. So it's really important to get their environment right and their habitat and their home where they live.
Okay.
So, for example, the penguins SeaWorld, they are Antarctic penguins, so their environment has to be really controlled so that the temperature's perfect and the water's right and it's nice and clean and the ice is nice and clean as well.
Yeah.
So if you have all those conditions right and the temperatures are right, and particularly with the Antarctic penguins, they have to have the right kind of lighting.
Yeah.
It's the lighting that tells them what time of year it is, and that's how they know when breeding season comes around.
Oh, okay.
So, if you want to breed penguins, those type of penguins, then the lighting is probably the most important thing, so that their body kind of recognises when it's time to lay eggs.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
apart from that kind of stuff, you also have to have lots of food and all that, and obviously some boys and girls as well.
Yeah.
And depending on the type of penguin, if they build a nest, then you might need to have pebbles and things like that available to them so that they can make a nest as well.
Okay. I just have a few questions to ask.
Yeah.
So, what are the steps involved in a penguin breeding program?
Okay, so I haven't haven't been involved in the penguin breeding program, but I can give you a rough idea, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it should be enough to help you out anyway. So basically, as I said, make sure their environment's right and they've got food and they've got nesting materials available.
Yep.
And then you can't always choose which penguins breed with which one. And with some species, they will mate with the same penguin each time. So they're basically mate for life. They choose a girl chooses a boy or a boy chooses a girl, and that's it. They always pair up in those two birds always pair up together.
Yeah.
So you basically just need to make sure they're happy and healthy and they've got food and they can make a nest.
Yeah.
And once the lighting gets to the right time of year for them, that will trigger for them that it's breeding season.
Yeah.
Basically, if they're happy and everything should just happen as it naturally would, really.
Okay. Just like it would in Antarctica.
Yeah, we'll just watch for mating behaviour and make sure they've got all their pebbles there so they can build their nest.
Yep.
And we try and make sure the nests are kind of spaced apart so that they're not going to fight with each other.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot else you need to do, basically. Kind of leave them be and not disturb them too much. And then they should be able to mate and breed and lay their eggs like normal.
Okay. What would you describe the financial demands associated with a penguin breeding program?
Probably the things that cost the most would be their food, because they specific types of fish, and they even get fish like Tasmanian salmon flown up all the way from Tasmania for them, which is pretty fancy.
Yeah, that's good.
And then also all the electricity costs involved in keeping their water clean and keeping their environment cold as well. So food and electricity are probably the most expensive things involved.
Yeah. Would you consider a penguin breeding program time-consuming?
No, I wouldn't actually, because it's just a natural part of their life. So as long as everything in their environment is good, then that will just kind of naturally happen.
Okay. Yeah. What steps would someone take to become involved in a funding or donating towards a penguin breeding program?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably to contact the people who own the penguins or have them on display, and I guess suggest what they would like to do, and maybe they want to sponsor that exhibit or they want to sponsor some particular penguins or something like that.
Yep.
Because how in some places you can adopt a dolphin or adopt a penguin, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the WWF.
But possibly get in touch with the people who run the zoo or that kind of thing, and just tell them your idea.
Okay. What is the first endangered animal species on your list that you would want to save first? How high up on the list are the Adelie penguin species?
Okay. Do you talk about me in particular?
Yeah.
Of all the animals in the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean all the animals in the world that I can choose from?
Yeah. All the animals.
Yeah. You know what? The first thing I would protect or save or whatever, if I could, would be polar bears.
Yeah.
Because they have big, big issues that are worldwide problems, and I don't know that the world can work together enough to help them.
Yeah.
So they would definitely be the ones that I would save straight away.
Yeah.
If I could. And as far as the Adelie penguins go, at this point in time, all penguin species, they have a classification system of vulnerable to extinction or endangered species. But penguins are called, their classes are least concern, which basically means there's either not enough information to know what their populations are like, or it means that they're doing okay and they don't really need our help just yet.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is that a lot of the penguins occur in environments like the Antarctic where people kind of aren't really there yet, and there's not big populations to actually impact on them.
Yeah.
So luckily for them, they're actually doing okay at the moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. How would you describe the past breeding programs in terms of effectiveness? What were the obstacles encountered during the breeding program?
So I think it has been quite effective because I can't even remember how long we've had the penguin exhibit open for now. Probably maybe close to 5 years now.
Yep.
And every breeding season we're having chicks born. So our population is growing. So I'd say it's been quite successful. Obstacles. I don't know if there have been actually any obstacles with breeding. I think basically it just took them a few years to sort of settle into their new home and get used to all the other penguins they were living with, so that they felt comfortable enough to then go ahead and breed. So yeah, it just took a few years, I guess, for them to settle in.
Okay.
Because they actually came to us from New Zealand, so they had kind of moved home, so they had to get used to their new home. And then once they were all settled in, then they basically have been breeding as a unit.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
it's been doing pretty well.
Okay. What would you have done differently if you were to conduct an additional penguin breeding program?
If we set up a whole other penguin exhibit, I think I probably would try and find an easier way of cleaning their ice.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard work.
Yeah.
For the penguin keepers to clean the ice. They actually have to physically shovel out about a ton of ice every day.
Yeah.
And then we've got a big snow machine that can pump in new ice and snow for them every day.
Okay.
So I'd try and find an easier way of doing that.
Yeah.
And by having it a bit cleaner, not cleaner, but making it a bit easier, then it will probably the penguins would probably benefit from that, I think.
Yeah.
But as far as the breeding goes, I think it's all going really well. I don't know if there would be anything that they would do differently.
Yeah.
It all seems to be doing well.
Okay. So what happens to the penguins after they have been born? Are they kept in the facility or released into the wild?
So these guys all have to be kept in our facility. To start with, they can't actually even come outside on the Gold Coast because it's way too hot for them. So inside, the air temperature in their exhibit is -1 degree.
Oh, wow.
And that's how cold they need it to be.
Oh,
so you've got to basically think it's exactly the same as Antarctica.
So in the enclosure in SeaWorld, it's -1 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
when you look at it from the outside, it looks like a big iceberg.
Yeah.
It's a big white square building, and the whole penguin enclosure is kind of sealed so that it's really cold in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Really, really cold.
Yeah.
So I forgot the question. Sorry.
What happens to the penguins after they have been born? Are they kept in the facility? So you pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So these guys are kept because it would be hard to release them into the wild because they need to be taught by their parents how to swim, how to hunt for food, and how to avoid predators. And because these guys are born in a special human-made habitat, they don't have predators and actually don't have to hunt for food either. They get fed. So without knowing those things, they wouldn't do very well in the wild because they just don't know how, basically. And because their parents were also born in the zoo, they don't know how to hunt for food or avoid seals or anything like that as well. So they can't really be released into the wild. But what we could do, if we did get too many penguins, is that there are other zoos, like in New Zealand and in Melbourne, that have the same kind of penguins, so we can ask them if they want extra penguins for their population and things like that.
Could you please explain the impact you have had on an endangered penguin species through your facility's rehabilitation program? Do you have any figures or evidence on hand to prove this?
Okay. So basically, because these populations are from zoos, they don't really have a direct impact on wild populations. But the impact that we do have is from people who come to see the penguins and learn about them while they're there. And hopefully they think they're really cute and love them as much as we do. And that means they want to go home again and maybe do something to actually help penguins in the wild.
Or something.
So by educating people and being on display for people, hopefully it helps people be aware of the ones that are in the wild and the problems they face.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, the ones in the zoo can therefore help the ones in the wild. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So it's kind of an indirect way of helping those other populations.
Yeah, because you're raising awareness.
That's right. Awareness and education. That's right.
Do you believe that there is a chance of revival for endangered penguin species such as the Adelie penguin?
Yeah, I think so. It's all the problems that penguins face are all to do with their environment and also their food source, which are both impacted by humans. So if we can keep the environment clean and protect that, that will help them out.
Yeah.
And if we can protect their food source by not overfishing the fish that they eat, then that will help them out as well.
Okay. How can people take action to limit the negative effects of global warming that is having on the penguin species?
Okay, so there's lots of easy things to do, and if every single person made a little effort, then it would make a huge difference all over the world. So things like saving electricity, not using as much, or switching to solar power, that's a really good one. Not using as much plastic, because unfortunately plastics get into the environment and then they break down and they can make animals sick or even kill them.
Yeah.
Not putting as much pollution into the atmosphere. So, instead of driving your car everywhere, maybe ride the bike or walk.
Yeah.
And just consider how much pollution is going into the atmosphere. That could be from, factories and things like that as well. Because that's all going to sort of speed up climate change. So what we need to do to slow it down or maybe reverse it is to really reduce all those things that we're doing.
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah. Just our last question. Our major issue related to the decrease in number of the Adelie penguin species is global warming. What is something that one person can do? Oh, this is pretty much the same question, but what is something that one person can go home tonight and do to contribute to the decrease of the negative impacts caused by global warming?
So I'm going to say probably one of the easiest things we can do, let me try and choose one, is, let's say, stop using plastic bags.
Yeah.
And it depends who's making the decision, but if you switch over to solar power instead of using electricity that comes from fossil fuels, that would make a really huge difference.
Yeah.
But just reducing plastic in the environment and also the manufacturing process of making plastic, that would make a really big difference. That's probably an easy thing to do, but yeah, switching over to solar or saving electricity is another easy one.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Beck.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it really did. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries.